My name's Sam, I'm your assistant winemaker here at Sadler's Creek Wines, and today we are going to go through what you guys are getting in your mixed tasting boxes. So a lot of you guys out there are being sent these little 5-pack boxes of 100ml bottles of wine, and each of those have 5 different Sadler's Creek wines. Now in that box you're going to start with your white wines, go through to your rosé and then onto your red. To start with, we have our Sadler's SemiOn. Now this is a pretty cracking little drop. This came out this year. You're leaning more this really beautiful white wine with lemon zest and honey notes. It goes perfectly with something like your honey king prawns. Think really nice takeaway Chinese food. It's really good. Now when you're tasting this wine, not only does it still have a fair bit of body to it, it's really got that big acid rush that you expect to see in your Hunter Valley Sems. It really comes straight through the middle of this wine and makes your mouth water, really makes you salivate. That's how you know it's good. Now, up next, after that wine, you'll be moving into your Sadler's Wild White. That's our winemaker's craft wine. Now, the Wild White is a really neat little blend of wines. It's a mixture of Semillon, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Arne, and Verdelho, which is a pretty uncommon mix. It's what you might call a field blend, but it's without actually being a field blend. Now, all of these grapes combined, you really see this nice amalgamation of fruit sweetness, acid, that honey character from that Semillon, that acid coming from that Riesling and that Gewürz, that Verdelho really bringing that green fruit character as well. Now, this, for me, this is probably one of my favorite white wines that we have here at Sadler's. It's got this little bit of fruit sweetness, like rock melon, honeydew, that sort of thing running through it. The acid's not over the top, so for anyone who's not a fan of big acid wines, it is awesome. It's super smashable. You see those, that almost confectionery character without it being over the top sweet, that green apple as well. It's an awesome job. If I was going to have this with anything, I'd be looking at having it with something like a prawn and mango salad. I reckon that would be to die for. Now, up next, we have our Sadler's Rosé. Now this is a really neat little one because this is actually made entirely of fruit from Sadler's Creek Wines vineyards. So that's a mixture of Merlot, Cabernet and Shiraz, not necessarily in that order. It is a really funky little drop. It's what I would personally call a saignée, which is the French word meaning to bleed, as in we bleed the skins of the grapes into this wine for a little bit longer to give it that full-on color. It's not necessarily a big sweet rosé like that color might suggest. Rather, it's textural, it's full-bodied. It really has this almost savory rose petal character going on in it as well. Now, along with that, like I said, you see that savory, fleshy rose petal. You see this really almost dehydrated strawberry character going on in here. It's a really funky little job. Not something you see a whole lot of. It's hard to find these wines that are a mix of full body without being overloaded with sugar, but I think we've done a pretty good job with this. If I was going to have this with something, I would probably be looking at something like Peking duck pancakes. You really get that hoisin, savory, umami character coming through in this wine, and I think it shows itself off really nicely. Now, as you move on into our reds, these are our last 2 wines, we're going to start with our Sadler's Shiraz. Now, once again, Hunter Valley fruit off the Sadler's Creek vineyard. This stuff here is really neat. I love our Sadler's Creek fruit. It comes from quite a dry area, so it really concentrates the flavor into the fruit. And you see these really big, full-on, almost brown sugar, cinnamony dessert spice characters going on in the Shiraz. Straight off the bat, I taste that, I smell that, I think brown sugar, I think nutmeg, I think cinnamon, I think chai latte spice in this wine. It's to die for. And you really see that full-on dark red cherry black forest character running around in it. That nice use of American oak in this wine really helps to bring out that nice chocolate, coffee-coated coffee beans. There we go, we got there. I think it's a killer job. Now for me, that nice full-on style goes with a much leaner style of meat. So this is lamb chops on the barbecue for me. I think that would just be a killer match. And coming into summer, you can't really beat that, can you? Now, coming up, last but not least, we have our Bluegrass Cab Sav. Now, as many of you guys may know who's bought from us before, the Bluegrass is one of our signature ranges. It is some of the top of the pop stuff coming out of us, and we are really quite proud of it. It's all American oak, so you will again see that chocolate coated coffee bean character in this wine. Now, it's a really funky job. I mean, you can even compare it in color to that Shiraz you got next to it. It's much darker. You can see that it's going to be a much heavier wine just by looking at it. Now, off the bat, you don't see that big, sweet, brown sugar cinnamon character you see in the Shiraz. You're leaning more to this broken branch, crushed up gum leaves sort of character on the nose. It's a very native wine. It's really showing off the terroir of the area it's grown in, being Langhorne Creek. Along with that, it's got some killer depth to it as well. Yeah, so you're seeing in this one a really nice, a big mix of black and white cracked pepper, which shows off straight away. If you like Hunter Valley Shiraz, you're going to love this Langhorne Creek Cab Sav as well. It doesn't quite so much have that really deep pounding cherry that you see in the Shiraz, but it definitely does come through to an extent. It's more of a dry, blasé, almost maraschino style cherry. You'll see that raspberry, you'll see that cranberry, all those really light, quite high acid red fruit characters showing off in this wine. Now, for me, this is the kicker. I'm going to put that with something like a big tomahawk steak, something that's got a bit of fat to it. The acid in this wine, it's not over the top, but you're going to need it to cut through a fatty meal like that. And if you're going to sit down with a glass of this and eat something, a big fatty steak is going to do the job. Now, that is our 5 wines in our Saddler's Creek mixed tasting pack, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed them. We're keen to see what you guys think. Let us know what your favorite is. Let us know if you think there's even more that you'd like to try. Thank you very much, guys. Again, my name's Sam. I'm the assistant winemaker here, and I hope you guys enjoy your wine for the rest of the night. Cheers.